It was the mid 1980s and I was in college. I volunteered at crisis intervention hotline in Blacksburg, Virginia, called the Raft Community Crisis Center for 2 years. And so I would go to Blacksburg and I would sometimes stay overnight on a couch and wait for the hotline to ring. And so it was a telephone, back in the day, a telephone that would ring with people who were dealing with difficult things, and many of them were suicidal. And so I got training to help work with these people. The first thing they did for us is they sent us through 40 hours of empathy training. And it was one of the best things that ever happened, especially because I'd come out of a narcissistic family system and empathy wasn't something that was modeled very much. And even when it was by my other parent, it was quite confusing because they would have to hold themselves back to let the narcissistic parent win, because that's something that you always have to do in this kind of family system. So I wanted to put together a video about empathy for ACONs, adult children of narcissists, and give you some things that you can do to up-level your own empathy. And I know you may be thinking, well, I'm already empathetic and all of that, but I know that our empathy was stunted when we grow up in a narcissistic family system. And so I wanted to do this video to kind of help you with some ideas that you can use to increase your empathy, because so many of the people who are probably clicking on this video identify as empathic and sensitive. Maybe you feel like you're an empath, and using your empathy for greater good is the best way to focus your empathy versus the empathy that we use to try to detect what's wrong in the room, because that's how we were trained. So I'm going to teach you a little bit in this little class here called Empathy 101 for ACONs, adult children of narcissists. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, holistic chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind. And I help wounded ACONs, adult children of narcissists, to become healed icons. And what's an icon? An icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. And that's the way to heal from being a wounded ACON, is to become the you were always meant to be, but your narcissistic parent separated you from. I'm also the founder of Love School Online Holistic Academy. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can apply to speak to me and learn about Love School Online and see if my academy might be a great fit for you in healing from parental narcissistic abuse. All right, so the first thing I want to cover in this video is, what is empathy? Empathy is your ability to feel with another person. It's your ability to really understand, to walk in their shoes. It's not the same as sympathy. It's not the same as pity and feeling sorry for somebody else. That's not, people don't like to be pitied, but empathy is a different thing. It's where you're really feeling with them. You're really listening to them and what they have to say and what's in their heart. It's a very, very important spiritual quality that I think we all have access to, but for some reason, narcissistic people just cut themselves off from their empathy. So they don't feel with you. They feel like your tears or your sadness, or you're calling them out on something. They think it's an attack when that's not what it is. For an empathetic person, we tend to want to actually work through things and talk through things and not attack people. But that's not how a narcissistic person sees it when you do call them out or ask them to share, or if you're really vulnerable, they see it as a weakness and also an attack. So empathy is something that we need to develop as ACONs, adult children of narcissists. We need to develop this muscle that we all have. Like, we may identify, like I said, as an empath and a sensitive person. So the first thing I would encourage you to learn is something called reflective listening. And that's really listening to what's going on with the person and then reflecting back to them what you're hearing. So, and it would be a simple thing like, well, it sounds like you feel really hurt. And so when you say that to them, you're actually giving them empathy and hearing them and saying, hey, you sound really hurt. And then that gives them the opportunity to open up even more, for them to get more vulnerable and say, yeah, you know what, I am really hurt, and here's why. And this can be a very helpful thing for the relationship, because this is how relationships happen. This is how intimacy gets built, is through true empathy and really listening to what the person just said and reflecting it back to them. And you can even say it this way. So somebody comes to you and they have a grievance, and maybe they're upset with you because you canceled something at the last minute and it really hurt them and upset them. And so you can receive them and hear them and say, oh, it sounds like you're really upset that I canceled at the last minute. I can completely understand why you're upset. And that wasn't right of me. And I'm so sorry I did that. And I will try better next time. So that's a genuine apology that feels like there's empathy involved. There's like, I feel with you. I know this is like, I don't like it either. And I will do better next time. Because then that's what you do next, is you adjust your behavior. And then it gives you an opportunity to do things different and make a different choice next time. So that's one way that you can really look at reflective listening, is hearing what they're saying and then reflecting it back to them, and letting them know, like, hey, I see you, I understand you, and I get you. So one way to show empathy is just to simply say, when somebody comes up and they're telling you something that's really sad or really difficult that they're going through, to really feel that energy and say, with your heart and with your empathy, I'm really sorry you're going through that. That sounds really difficult. Yeah, you know what? It is difficult. It really hurts and it's really hard. What's the hardest part about that? So then you've got these follow-up questions that help them to pull out what's going on with them. Because so often when we're upset, we don't even quite know what we're really, really upset about. And so empathy is something that you can help another person with by pulling it out and helping them to understand more deeply what's going on with themselves, so that you can deepen the relationship with the person. So empathy is a very, very important quality and emotion to really access. Another thing you can do to increase your empathy and to use it intentionally is to feel for the unspoken emotion that they're maybe not quite saying when they're sharing something that's going on in their lives that's difficult. So you feel for the unspoken emotion, and then you reflect it back to them. Then you speak it to them. Wow, it sounds like you're really, really upset, or you sound really frustrated. You sound really, just so you're listening and feeling into their emotion. So you're using your emotion, you're using your empathy to feel into their emotional state. And you may be able to name an emotion for them that they haven't quite named yet, because they're upset. They're having a hard time, and they're explaining to you, this is what's going on with me. And they may be upset with you. And I think it's really important to learn to welcome somebody's upset. And I know this is not easy when you grew up in a narcissistic home, because upset was never welcomed. It was something you weren't allowed to express. And so it's just not natural for you to express your own upset about things. And so you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to do that in a way that is hopefully non-threatening to the other person you're expressing it to. So going to somebody calmly, like calming yourself down first, and then going to someone and saying, hey, when you said that thing the other day that they may not even notice they said, it really hurt my feelings. Oh, really? What did I say? Well, you said this, and it sounded like this, and it felt like this to me. And you're giving them the opportunity to say, hey, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I can see how that would have been hard for you, and I would have felt the same way. So that's understanding. That's empathy. That's giving them the understanding that you know where they're coming from, and you feel the feeling that they're feeling, and helping them to identify that feeling and then expand on what's going on inside of them so they can get it out and they can talk about it. So that's a really important part. These things that I'm telling you right now help a person to be seen, they help them to be heard, and they help them to be understood, which will make them feel loved and cared for, which is one of the most important things that we can ever give to another person that we love and care for, is that empathy and is that ability to say, hey, you know what, I see you and I get you and I'm here for you. And as I mentioned earlier, another thing you can do to strengthen your empathy is you can provide follow-up questions to get them to talk some more, to get them to emote more, to reach inside and put together, articulate what it is that's going on with them. Yeah, I see you're hurt. Tell me about that hurt. If you use that phrase, tell me about, it's an open-ended question without being a question. You're asking them to tell you something. And so that gives them the opportunity to really dig inside and go, okay, here's what's happening with me, which is such a gift that you give to other people, giving that gift of empathy and that ability to tell and open up. So they start telling you about it, and they're telling you how frustrated they were and how hard it was, and how, you know, they're not sleeping at night now and all of that. And so this gives you an opportunity also to ask some follow-up questions that are coming from an emotional place. So you can go further into the emotions they may not be naming, but you're feeling them having, and ask more questions. You know, well, what hurts the most? What was the hardest part for you? Why was that so difficult for you? Because then that also gets them to be more introspective and think about, well, it was really difficult because I was treated like my opinion, my ideas, my hurt never mattered. And so to have somebody treat you like your hurt matters and that they're hearing you and they're there for you makes a huge, huge difference. So empathy is one of the most important things we can do to just hold up another person that we really love and care about. So empathy is something that we can use to really see and feel and know the best in others. And like I said earlier in this video, that when you're brought up by a narcissistic parent, you are trained to use your empathy to suss out the problems in the room. You're always looking for what's wrong, and you're trying to keep the bad things from happening. So you're constantly trying to make them, the narcissistic parent, not get upset at you, to not go ballistic, and to not set them off because you feel like it's your responsibility to set them off or not set them off. And that's a huge responsibility. So you're always looking for the negativity in the room when you walk into any room. And so you're using your empathy for that, which is why you feel drained. And that's why you go into empathic overload, is that you're taking on those emotional reactions of other people instead of just letting them filter through you and letting yourself feel the feeling and just move through you and notice it and name it, which you can do with healthy people, but you can't do that with narcissistic people. So that's really important to understand. Now, one thing you can do with a narcissistic person is you can name what's going on. Oh, you sound really frustrated. Oh, yeah, I'm so frustrated. And they'll go on and on and on, all about them. But it also makes them think you're in their corner, which sometimes is a good thing, to help them to feel that, you know, that you're there trying to support them and help them without completely allowing them to drain you of your own empathy and your own experience. So empathic overload is something that we can often feel as empaths because we're feeling the worst. So I'm suggesting to you that you start to learn to feel the best and feel those qualities in yourself and in others. The goodness, the kindness, the care, the compassion, the joy, the excitement, all of these wonderful emotions that we also have access to, but we quite often don't think about how important they are to access them. But these emotions are way more important than the shame and the guilt and the pain and the anger. Those are way showers to help show you the way to the joy and the compassion and the love and the peace and the kindness. Because that to me is what true empathy is about. And one of the ways you can really develop this is by developing your intuition, which is another thing that I do is I certify people in whole person integration technique, my technique, and I help them develop their intuitive abilities, evolve their intuition to help them heal. So if you're interested in any of this, you can go to my website at meghaworth.com, or you can apply to speak to me for free. I think of empathy as a superpower, and that you can increase your superpower by using the various empathy tools that I gave you today in this video. And so let me know, comment in the comments below and let me know if this video was helpful for you, and if you're increasing your empathy as a result of hearing this. Or maybe you're just checking and seeing like, hey, you know what? I already am really empathic and I am really reflecting things back to people and helping them feel understood, seen, heard, and loved. It's the most important thing that we can do for others in our lives. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I hope this information will help you get well now.